Okay, can we start? Toby? Can we start, Toby? Are we live? Not yet. Okay, yes, we can start. So, welcome everyone, and thanks for joining us wherever you are in the world. Sportech Universe, we're talking today. This is another session of the Sportech Live webinars we have, and today, amazing session is coming up. We have the top leaders in the space of fan engagement, monetization. We are all like, wondering what's going to happen, how is next season going to look like, what's happening with the leagues, with the games we love. I had a call this morning with a friend in Australia, and he was sharing without any hesitation that there was, on the weekend, there was a game in the footy, the football, Australian football, with 60,000 fans in the stadium. And he was saying this like naturally. I said, are you sure? 60,000? He said, yeah, in Queensland, we have hardly no problem. And I thought, crazy. This is what's happening. Now, what's crazy is that we look at that and we think this is crazy. That's, that's reality. That's the old reality we love. But anyway, we are into a new reality. And we have here a great panel from hockey, from baseball, from NBA, from football as well, and from rugby, and federations and teams, and really great variety of speakers and experts. And we would like really to look at what's happening. What are the new trends? What's happening? What are we expecting in the next season? So I want to start with Ryan. Ryan, from the hockey perspective, tell us a little bit, first of all, after you introduce yourself a little bit, what the current status now in the MLB, in the hockey league, and then what is the next, how is the plans coming up for the beginning of the next season?
Yeah, Amir, thank you again for having me here. It's a pleasure to be with all of you this morning, this afternoon, depending on where you are in the world. Ryan O'Connor, as Amir alluded to, the Director of Corporate Partnerships for the National Hockey League's Columbus Blue Jackets. And Amir, to answer your question, it's been a rapid fire progression for us over the last couple of weeks. I look at Kate, and I know Kate's going through the same thing right now with the National Basketball Association. For the longest period of time, call it the last 3 months, it was very much just, maintaining consistent communication with our fan base and with our partner base and our community supporters, checking on them, showing empathy in a time that was very difficult. It still is very difficult. But over the last month, we started to transition as the NHL has rolled back its plans for return to play in terms of how now are we going to work with our marketing partners to position them adequately within the context and the framework of these return to play games. And the context, the way it looks for us is we will return to play. We'll play in Toronto. The Columbus Blue Jackets will play in Toronto. The Western Conference will play in Edmonton. So we'll use the 2 hub cities in Canada where the virus, the spread of the virus doesn't seem to be as significant as it does here in the United States. And so for all intents and purposes, I think that's great. But essentially, we'll travel to the hub cities. We'll play an exhibition game. And then we will go right into qualifying round of playoffs, which isn't technically the playoffs, but it is a kind of a postseason tournament. At that point, we will then, if we progress beyond that, go into round one of the quote-unquote playoffs, official playoffs. And the hope is that the Stanley Cup would be awarded sometime in October, and we'll be able to finish out the season. So, as I mentioned, it's been very rapid succession in terms of working very quickly with partners at this point to make sure that they're layered in to the game context the right way. So it's a lot of fun, but a lot of stress at the same time. So very little sleep for me as of the last couple of weeks.
Sorry. So the date of the first game is when?
So the exhibition games will begin July 30th, and then the qualifying round begins August 1st. Our first home game, or I guess game, everything's neutral site, will be August 2nd.
And no fans at the moment.
Correct, no fans.
All right, let's move to the NBA. Kate.
Sure. I'm Kate Hussman with the Charlotte Hornets. So the NBA team located in Charlotte, North Carolina. I'm the Senior Director of Strategy and Innovation. So I sit at the intersection of technology, innovation, analytics, and marketing, which, during normal times was an interesting place, an interesting vantage point, but during COVID has just been, I would say, it's far more interesting, but also more challenging than it typically is.
Yes.
So regarding the NBA, I'm sure a lot of sports fans on this call are watching this grand social experiment that has been dubbed the bubble. Multiple U.S. leagues are playing under these circumstances right now. So there's 22 teams in the bubble. We are unfortunately not one of them, but they begin preseason play today. I believe, seeding play, so kind of regular season, if we even can call it that anymore, will begin on July 30th. Playoffs, I think, start, mid-August, like August 17th-ish. And then you'll see the finals take place towards end of September 30th. So hopefully, we'll be crowning a champion by the end of September. Thus far, outside of kind of some of the hilarious content you guys have probably seen floating around the internet as the players arrive at the bubble and get used to living in this environment, it's going fairly well. And then we will see what happens with the 2021 season. In North Carolina, we are not Queensland. I do not see us playing in front of thousands of fans. Our case count is skyrocketing here. So we're actually looking at kind of going backwards in terms of staged opening. So yes, totally agree. It's been an equally stressful but interesting time.
Yeah, I think the overall feedback which we get, and we have a program now which called the Global Virtual Accelerator in Sport Tech, and we do work with some of the, I would say, top teams in the different, I would say, sports. And what we hear from them is the same, that innovation suddenly became much more centered than it was. So,
I got a much bigger budget than I'm used to.
Yeah. And suddenly, they have this young guy in charge of innovation. Suddenly, they have a CTO and a full team, hoping that innovation will help, push things forward. No, I'm exaggerating a little bit, but we can see that there is innovation is playing a big role now in what's happening, and it's not going, unfortunately, or depends where you look at that, but it's probably going to be a period and a while until which we need to live with that and think about innovative ways to make this beneficial and to enhance the experiences. Now, I spoke this morning with one of the biggest soccer federations in Europe, and he said, I asked him about his innovation strategy. He said, we didn't have innovation strategy. Now we have innovation strategy because everything is around innovation. So anyway, so thank you for this, Kate. Let's move to England and rugby. Hey, Dan.
Thanks, Amir.
This odd game you played there in the UK.
Odd game, but a great game. So yeah, I'm Dan Maisley. I work for Harlequins. We rugby team in the Gallagher Premiership over here in England. Ultimately, my role is to head up the partnerships, so all the commercial sponsorships that we have, and you'll see in my wonderful background, I'm alluding to our title partner behind us quite clearly as well. So always on for me. In terms of our season, the rugby season actually traditionally goes from September through to June. So COVID hit smack bang in the middle of our season, really. We have got 9 weeks of the season left, or 9 games. We're a couple of weeks behind Ryan and Kate in restart. So our first game back is the 14th of August. We are the first game back. What we have done over the last 4 weeks is a kind of graduated return to play. So we've had a phase 1 training where the players were back in, still socially distanced, but just getting back into that team environment. And then over the last couple of weeks, phase 2 training has kicked off with more of the contacts, more of the team elements to training as well. So we are fast approaching our first game against very hard opposition, but very much looking forward to it. And exactly as Ryan said when he first introduced himself, my job now is ultimately to layer in our partners as we go into that restart. So it's a busy time, but it's there's light at the end of the tunnel.
Yeah, and no fans, no soup for you, as they say.
Not as yet, no. So the most up-to-date government guidance on our side is that test events in stadiums will happen in October. We are looking at our season finishing late October. So we have semi-finals and finals in our rugby league. So there is a chance that there could be fans at the very end, but the likelihood is that certainly for Harlequins, we wouldn't have fans at any of our home games. But the plus side is that we will be having home and away games. There isn't a need at the moment to have them at neutral venues.
Great. We'll come back to you later on because we want to hear about innovations and trends and what's happening and what do we do with the fans and what are the new platforms that we are using already or about to use. Let's move now to Mexico. Victor, thanks for coming. Please share with us what's happening in the league, the football league in Mexico.
Well, first of all, thank you very much to everybody. Thank you, Amir. Thank you for Hive Sports Innovation for the invitation. My name is Victor Guevara. I'm the General Competitions, Operations, and Development Director, and as well, I'm the General Director of the CITEC, the Technological Innovation Center of Mexico, that since years ago bring a lot of value to the industry. And in our case, it's completely different. We start the season tomorrow. And it's of course, it's a challenge. Of course, it's completely different than all the things that are living our friends. And because right now, the last season, we call off the season on April, and we took the decision to start a complete pre-season and then to start a new season, 2020-2021. And the beginning is tomorrow with no fans in the stands. In the beginning, of course, in the near future, we could have the possibility, of course, with the correct strategy, we'll start to have fans on the tribune, or in the stands. But right now, it's complicated. And I think that we would like to share with all your audience some strategies that we follow during the COVID, using technology, using the bring to value to the industry. Some EA Sports strategies that we have during this period that show to us that this is a new way to approach with the fans, and as well the using of technology in our industry that right now is a new way to negotiate or to negotiate with the sponsors. And for example, for the next season, we create a strategy for the calendar. Because right now, one of the things that we face is that in the most of the industry, we overlap the matches. But the penetration with the audience is less than if you don't have overlapped matches. In the new season or the new tournament, just to have like a reference, in Mexico, we have a long season starting on April and finish, and on July, August, and finish on May. But we have 2 tournaments, Apertura, Opening, and Clausura. And it's a 6-month tournament with a regular season and then the postseason. The postseason always is the most important thing because in Latin America, the blood is part of our essence, and we understand that we need to create a strategy, and we will have matches starting on Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. And it could bring the possibility with different schedules that we will have just a less of overlapping matches. And this engagement with the fan, this engagement with the industry, with the stakeholders, is completely different.
Okay, so basically you've done some amendments in the timing of the games to allow more sponsorship and All right.
Exactly.
Yeah, we are. You got our attention with regards to the new technology you're going to share later on, Victor. So let's hope this will exceed our expectations. And let's go now to Sergio. And now the real MLB. Yeah, and tell us what's happening in your case. What's this is. And by the way, before that. Victor, you mentioned earlier technologies. I love to tell the story that when the COVID-19 started, my father is 84 and he's sending me every day, he sent me a SMS. When the COVID started, after a few weeks, he sent me a Zoom link. So I understood that something is happening in the space of technology and experience and behavior around us. So please, Sergio.
Hi, good morning, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for having me, Amir. Major League Baseball. We are 2 days away from opening day. There's actually some teams open up their season tomorrow, Thursday. We open up on Friday, the 24th. We're about 4 months later than originally scheduled. A lot of fits and starts getting to this point. We got shut down in the middle of our spring training. Regrouped, have been doing summer camp at the ballpark, a lot of scrimmaging. But we got there. One of the things, one of the key learnings for us, the season will be, rather than 162 games, it'll be a 60-game season, so much condensed. The rosters have been expanded, but a couple of key takeaways as we got to the point where we are now, and hopefully, get in our full 60-game season. And then the regular season is due to begin, the season ends September 27th. The regular season is due to begin a couple days after that. The postseason. And then that'll be a regular postseason like every other year. Hopefully we get through that. No fans at the beginning. There's hope in some states potentially might be able to bring in a limited number of fans as hopefully the pandemic subsides, but right now there are no fans. One of the things we learned, we worked closer with Major League Baseball, the league, than we ever have. All the clubs, we've been able to come up with new ways to stay engaged with our fan base. We worked very closely to create new signage opportunities. Well, first time ever. We've been doing EVI, virtual signage, in our batter's eye for 5 years, but now we're going to have it several other places around the ballpark, as will every other team. New permanent signage on the field that's never been done. Working together helps, and also internally, like breaking down departmental silos, because everything crosses over. Sponsorship, marketing, analytics, business intelligence. We all had to work very closely together to create programs and opportunities to keep our fans engaged, and then also relationships and the equity and trust you've built in those relationships, whether it's your corporate partners or your season ticket members, to be able to have them trust you enough to keep their money with you, or to expand their programs, or to change them, has been really key for us. And we're not through the woods yet, but we're in a really great place that we couldn't have anticipated being there, and happy to share some of the things that we've done along the way, from simulated games with our partner at Sony with PlayStation to social hours, virtual second screen experiences, all those things. But
yeah, you mentioned sponsorship and the challenges around that, and new, what we consider is a lot of new thinkings and new resources and new, I would say, channels which are being tested now in order to, answer the challenge of how do you deal with your current sponsors and the implication of what's happening. Now, speaking about challenges, I want to start a quick new round, and let's be short now. I'll start with Kate. If you can share, in our program, what we've done, which I think is a bit different to what was done before. Teams and clubs usually were innovative in the sense that they told, what I heard from them, that usually they have like 15 startups knocking on their doors every week, and they're screening them, they're choosing the one that maybe they would like to do a pilot with. We've reversed it. We said, no, you tell us what are your challenges, and we go out there and find the right startups, which will solve your problem. So actually we had days where we sat for 2-3 hours, where each club, imagine the Golden State Warriors presenting their challenges, or the Miami Dolphins, or Paris Saint-Germain. This was, suddenly we could hear exactly what they're looking for. It doesn't mean that they know everything, that they are familiar with everything is available, because there could be something that once they hear the pitching, they will say, oh, this one, I would like this too. So, but at least it's going from the right way. They share their challenges. So I would like to ask each one of you if you can share two major challenges you're facing, because I think our audiences, wherever they are, probably face similar challenges, but also 2 unique ways you found to solve it, or you're about to solve it. Kate, we'll give you the honor to to be the first.
Sure. Well, first of all, I think the service you provide is extremely valuable, particularly in these times when, yes, like 15 is an understatement of how many startups we have knocking on our doors or hitting us on LinkedIn, getting on my Slack channels. Like, I don't even know how they find all of these ways to access us, but it's just nearly impossible to kind of look through the breadth of solutions or new solutions that are being created out there. So I think the 2 primary challenges I'm focused on right now, unique to our market, is I think so many sports teams in the U.S. Challenges are their team specific because of their local RSN contracts. One is recreating a live sports experience at home digitally. So, so much of what we can do here is dictated by our RSN contract, our local media rights contract. But ideally, what we need to replace in a no-fan scenario is the value proposition of attending a game live in person. So what does that second screen experience look like? Is there VR capabilities, and, enhanced statistical overlays, enhanced camera angles? And what is the fan interaction? Because, so often you go to these live events specifically to interact with the fan base, with people that you have that commonality or share that commonality with. So is it like a Twitch chat function that allows you to segment according to your friend groups and then interact with like the fan base in general? And then how do we integrate partners into that, whether it's through food ordering or sponsorship interludes, et cetera. So our primary challenge right now is trying to figure out how to replace the live game experience in the case of in case we are in a no fan scenario next year. And then I think that has legs far beyond COVID. Sports was always looking at this as the future. We were always going to be competing with the second screen at home experience. So, perhaps we then segment our fans to those who prefer to experience it at home, and we can monetize them, to those we can attract back to the arena. So that would be the first challenge. We're looking at various ways to do that. I will say, the first conversation occurs at, the high level, with our RSN partner and collaborating with them. So many of them are looking at launching OTT platforms or have already launched streaming platforms that can provide some of these features. And we have the fan base that we need to ask the question, what do they want to see? What do our fans want to see within these features? So first solution would be with our RSN. And then there are other solutions out there that exist that teams have already put in place. I mean, The Wizards launched Monumental Sports Network a couple years ago in partnership with NBC Sports. Steve Ballmer pioneered Court Vision at the Clippers, which is, I don't know if any of you guys have experimented with it, but I think that, the future of sports viewership. And then other teams that, they haven't put these products out there yet, so I don't want to name that, but that are developing this type of experience in-house, that I think, we'll start to see experimentation with around the bubble, which will be exciting. So that will be the first challenge. The second challenge that I am specifically trying to figure out in North Carolina, and I love that this is an international panel and audience, because please send me a chat, send me an email if you have recommendations, but the sports betting space, obviously new in the United States, with the overturning of PASPA. And in North Carolina, we are looking to make headway to getting sports betting legalized in North Carolina specifically. It would be a hotbed for sports betting because of our college basketball presence here alone and our college football presence. And we are essentially looking at, until that bill can be passed, how do we shape that bill in a way that's beneficial to professional sports properties? Because so often it benefits the lottery or the state, and sports teams are kind of left out. And B, how do we start to habituate our fans that might not be betting illegally now, or don't want to admit to participate in sports betting? How do we start to habituate them to watching the game and engaging with the broadcast in some sort of predictive game? So we're looking at, basic prop betting mobile applications that will kind of warm the channel, that then hopefully we can transition those fans to live real sports betting. So there's, again, plethora of solutions out there in the US right now. We're seeing a ton of consolidation in that space, ton of acquisition in that space, which is actually creating challenges, because I'll have conversations with one organization and find out they got purchased, a month later. But get various, Fan Hub, FanBeat, MGM has a product out there. There's, happy to chat about some of these additional, offline, because I've betted the majority of them, but looking for any innovative solutions in that space as well.
Great topic. Sports betting, we feel something is happening around that. Different levels. By the way, in the next cycle of our Global Virtual Accelerator in November, we have a vertical focusing only on sports betting with some of the biggest partners in the industry, and the relation then to all the other, parts, the esports, etc., etc. You didn't mention anything about esports, so it's probably you're going to probably leave it till the end. Let's move now to Ryan. Your top challenges and the way you handle them, if you can be brief, please. If you're on mute, I believe.
I'm sorry about that. So I think that, Kate touched on two that are very, very important to us as well. Sports betting specifically, we're in a very similar boat here in Ohio, where we are looking at legislation that is coming down. What we're hearing could be as soon as by the end of this year. So that's definitely a space that we are very interested in. But additionally, I think that it's interesting for us as we are a relatively newer NHL franchise, right? We're actually just about to move into our 20th anniversary season, and I'd say for us, we exist in a very competitive landscape here in Ohio. We have teams, we have two cities to the north and south that are big cities that have multiple professional sports teams, and we're right in the middle of the state. We keep very, very aggressively with the largest university here in the country, in The Ohio State University. So, we collaborate with them. We also compete with them. But, the challenge for us is, how do we tell our brand story in a compelling way to attract fans in a greater area than just the vicinity of Columbus, candidly? And, I'm happy to report that, we're making some major strides with our marketing team, and have over the last year, to really envision how do we tell our story to, not just Columbus, but to the entire state of Ohio. How do we become known as Ohio's hockey team, right? Since we're the only NHL team here in the States. And then, as we look at, some of the states that are close to us, West Virginia borders us, Kentucky borders us, Indiana borders us, all these states don't have hockey teams. And so we feel that there's real potential here to tell our story and to engage with fans. And I think that what Kate said in terms of taking the fan experience into the house, what this could actually do is help us, right? Because now, all of a sudden, we're not depending on all of these fans having access to come to the arena. We can engage with these fans directly in their homes. Technology is going to allow us to do this in ways that we never thought possible before. So now, all of a sudden, as you start thinking about, you know, the virtual experience, taking the in-arena experience to the fan directly at home, this becomes much more practical for us to be able to do this, right? In terms of that larger audience. So I'd say, you know, from that perspective, that's our first challenge, is how do we continue to tell our story to a greater number of people and thereby build our fan base and grow our fan base organically. The second challenge I'll say is content creation. And I think that this is something that you can never have enough good content, right? And I'm not just talking about content in general, I'm talking about immersive content that people can control, that they can engage with readily, that is accessible, and that really rewards them, right, for taking action and becoming a part of this content directly. So we talk about user-generated content. How can we create competitions? We've been doing a little bit of this during the work stoppage, is how do we create content that our fans can participate with, and then how do we reward them for taking the action against those pieces of content? And we found we've been able to increase our engagement numbers in some of those instances. And esports actually plays into this. So it's interesting you mentioned that with Kate. We started a brand new gaming platform called CBJ Gaming, and we launched it in April, right after we shut down for the pandemic. And it has done extremely well. As a matter of fact, we're just putting on we're in the midst of it right now, a 6 versus 6 tournament all around the NHL 20 series. And we have people all over the world that have joined us for this tournament, teams from all over the world, players from all over the world. And we've seen crazy engagement numbers from this. So I think that the more that we can create this compelling content, the better off we're going to be. One of the challenges there is, how do we staff appropriately? How do we position people appropriately to make sure that we're maximizing content creation, right? And so those are some of the challenges that we've candidly encountered over the past year or so.
Well said. Let's thank you for that. Let's move to Victor. Victor, what can you share about your challenges? Just you reminded me, Ryan. I had a conversation with the Dutch Federation for Football, Soccer, in the US. And they have this idea, which they're practicing now, that fans cannot come to the stadium, but they still love the food and the experience of the food in the stadium. So they send them home the package, all branded, of the team.
Yes.
Before the game is started. Not breakthrough technology, but nice idea.
Yes, for sure.
The same disgusting hot dog and everything around that as it is in the stadium. Victor, please.
One of the things it's probably that it will face exactly the same problem is the depth, because we need to analyze the depth before the COVID, during the COVID, and for the next season. When I'm talking about the depth, it's with all the stakeholders, talking about the fans, talking
This
about
is
the
your
media.
first challenge?
Yes, the depth.
What is the challenge?
Depth, the depth with all the stakeholders. As you
You
know,
mean you owe them?
yes, of course,
Okay.
because at the end, when you call off a season, always you need to renegotiate with your sponsor. You need to renegotiate with the fans, because some of them bought in advance all the season tickets. The debt that you have with the TV rights, because some of the rights are paid in advance. And I would like to divide my presentation this way in two parts. What happened during the COVID? Because we have a strategy to reactivate the economy. And as I told you, this is one of the best examples. We create a EA League that was broadcasted in live, using the players of the team, the soccer players. Each team pick 3 players, and we have 269 matches. We recreate the whole tournament, and the participation was playing every single day. At the end, the final figure was 25 million people watching the matches. We have 21.9 interaction in social media. But that brings us the possibility to reactive the economy, because the players, for example, they must play with their shirt of the team. The exposure for the brands was completely different in the moment that everything was completely stopped. When the player was interacting in the social media saying, I will play today at noon against Sergio, that brings also the possibility that start to create a communication with the fans, start to create a communication with the brand that was completely stopped. And at the same time, to create a product with the stakeholders to try to bring value. This is always when we say value, it's a simple word, but very complex to determine. But at the end, the value is determined by the stakeholders, the people who will receive the product. And in this specific case, we have a strategy and bring us the possibility to move the economy. Yeah. And they could renegotiate with all these stakeholders to say, well, my debt is or it's like this, and it's a little bit shorter. Why? Because some matches that I call up, I reacted in this EA Sport League.
So you created new, I would say,
assets.
New assets that were never there before, which can compensate and create new value for the sponsors and the different ecosystem stakeholders. Okay.
Exactly. I'm pacing a little bit for the new season. I explained that we create a project that we call Guardians 2020. Guardianes 2020. The Guardians 2020, the season will be dedicated for all the medical staff that are in the first line fighting with the COVID. And the Liga MX and the Mexican football and all the stakeholders took the decision to dedicate the tournament for them. But this tournament is an umbrella. Why? Because at the same time, we reacted the economy with the clubs using our social media platform. Just for the background, we are the 4th league in the world talking about football in social media. Now worldwide, imagine we have 209 members in FIFA, member association, and we are the 4th league in the world talking about social media. The idea is that we renegotiate and we bring to the clubs the opportunity to use our social media platforms to bring value to their own sponsors. Imagine, in the CITEC, that is our innovation technological center, we create different kind of content. It's unique, it's our competitive advantage, and with this specific product that we are mixing the smart camera, GPS data, some big data, some information of tracking, we create different kind of products and we use it. And the clubs will have the possibility to add their own brands and using our social media. That's a way that we reacted, because it's not the same when you are just your audience or you are reaching just 2,000 people, when you are reaching 4 million, 5 million people in their brand. Right. That's a way to change a little bit the way that we are moving right now. And this could help us to, first of all, bring value to the stakeholders, but at the same time, to start to reduce the debt that we are having, the clubs, right, the league, with their own sponsors.
Smart moves. It seems like you're well ahead of the game there in Mexico. Thank you for this, Victor. Let's move now to Sergio. What's your 2 main challenges, and can you share any ways you've dealt with them, which will inspire us?
Yeah, I mean, I think, like as everyone has mentioned, engagement with the fan base, and then value and moving fan behavior, or shaping it for our partners, our sponsors. So similarly to what a lot of things, I mean, baseball, typical year, you play 162 games in 180 days. So there's not a lot of room to create additional content. Like you're already, if you're a fan, you're already consuming 4 hours a day of just games. So additional content is always something. But still have a pretty robust content team. And we were able to turn it around quickly when everything shut down. We did a social hour, which was an hour programming using our announcers every night on our social channels, YouTube, Twitter. Kept our fans engaged, kept all our partners engaged. And every Friday night with Sony PlayStation and MLB The Show, we did simulated games with Padres against other teams. It's crazy. We finished the season undefeated. It was the first time in the history of the world a Major League Baseball team has been undefeated for a year. But so we did the simulated games, and we included all our partner promotions. So between innings, we would do, what's under the hat for our partner. We would do when a Padre player hit a home run with our fast food partner, you could go and with purchase of a Coca-Cola, you'd get a free Jumbo Jack, and just open to anybody that was on our app. I mean, baseball is food, and one of the things you mentioned, Amir, food and the experience of baseball is more than just watching, because you're sitting there 3 innings, it's natural ebbs and flow. So the in-game experience, especially at Petco Park, we pride ourselves on in-game. We're sort of the taste of San Diego. We don't have just your basic hot dogs, even though we do have a good hot dog. We have all of kind of the best taco shop in San Diego, the best fish taco in San Diego, the best pizza place in San Diego, the best barbecue in San Diego, and the best hamburger in San Diego, and our food. So we've created fan packs where fans on our mobile app can order food and go pick it up at any of our partners that are serving the food in the ballpark. So on Friday night, you want to do our tri-tip nachos or something, you can go to a Seaside Market, pre-order on the mobile app, and get a sort of a taste of Petco Park, of what you would normally do in the season. Also creates a sense of community. How do fans interact with each other? That's why a lot of people, go to the ballpark rather than watching it at home, is to interact with other people that share your passion. So trying to create that with the second screen, as everybody's mentioned, you can cheer, you can clap. They don't know, it's like a 18-second delay, so it's not really going to impact the cheering, but we do have cheering also from the video game from MLB The Show, where our control is hitting a different button depending on the play to raise the volume of cheering or boos or disappointing groans as it goes on along the play. And the players actually requested, they didn't want complete silence, they wanted to hear some kind of fan noise. So we've worked with that. And then, so being able to sort of recreate the ballpark experience, recreate that sense of community that our loyal fans experience. We also got lucky. We chose this off season to go to the home of our 3 most probably marketable players, our kind of up and coming superstar to be, knock on wood, shortstop Fernando Tatis. So we went to the Dominican Republic where he lives and filmed a week long of kind of what his life looks like there in the off season. We went to our all-star third baseman Manny Machado's off-season home in Miami, filmed a series with him there, and then we went to Texas with one of our up-and-coming young star pitchers, and kind of how he lives in the off-season and how they train and how they work out and kind of their off the field. And our fans ate that up while we were away from actual games. So it's a one time where having content for baseball made sense, and we got lucky. Some of the things broke our way, but and the other part, bringing partners along, we couldn't wait to decide if our partners were going to pay us for this content. We had to take the leap of faith, create it, make it, get the gaming on, get our announcers on up to, and then we're able to bring our partners along with us. Again, back to relationships and trust, and we kind of took that leap of faith, and they took it with us, and it worked out pretty well. We've also user-generated content. We, for the longest time, had the largest video board in all of Major League Baseball, and it's HD. So we've had a hashtag SD on HD, and fans could send in their pictures during the game, and we would always post them on our video board throughout the game. And now we're doing that on our second screen experience, also working with our RSN, our regional sports network, to show those during the game, so people kind of get a sense of being at the ballpark.
Are you, Sergio, are you making money out of this, or it's a service?
The hashtag, the user generated content, or the rest of the things?
No, the hashtag video on the board.
No, not really. We do have it sponsored. We do have it sponsored, and we
Okay.
so we get it on the back end. We also have one where people, because we are play at Petco Park is the naming right. So we have a another hashtag for your pets, and then people also love posting pictures of their pets in Padre outfit and whatnot. And that's also monetized through the partnership.
Thank you for that. And it reminds me, one of the startups we had in our accelerator in the Bundesliga created an app where, if I go with my son to the game, before the game, we are doing a short video. We send it to the center, to the club, and there is an automation there of creating a video of all the videos they got before the game, and it's being in halftime. We can see it on the main board, sponsored by the local bid. Revenue share with the club.
Yeah, that's good.
Okay, let's go to England. What's happening in rugby? You have any challenges at all?
Yes, certainly do. I think I'm not going to try and reinvent the wheel. I think what everyone has already said is relevant, apart from potentially the betting side, because with England and the UK, we've never had that stipulation before. But certainly for us, our challenges they're not new challenges. They're not challenges that have come about because of COVID, but what they have done is accelerated because of COVID, and actually they're exacerbated because of COVID. So one of our challenges at Harlequins, one of our challenges within rugby as a whole isn't necessarily engaging with our core fans, our season ticket holders, because they will always be season ticket holders. We have to value them. We have to bring new things on for them. But actually, what we need to do is, how can we move our periphery fans into our core fans, and how do we make our unknown fans our known fans, and how do we engage with all of those people, and especially over the last 3-4 months where we haven't had any rugby whatsoever. Now, some of the things that we've been doing at Harlequins in terms of again, as Brian mentioned, producing new content and creating new content all the time and different content ideas, but actually looking at how we can get others involved. So we've trialed with a company called Spoke, who are an alternative commentary company, essentially. So we will play highlights of one of our games, but we'll have our players commentating over the top of that. So it's simple things, but it's things that we can push out that people who aren't necessarily core fans of rugby will then get to understand why a player did this, what that means, what does that rule entail, law entail, how is the referee's interpretation of all of that actually land. What we're also doing, and being completely candid, is looking at what everybody else is doing out there, not just in the UK, but broader. You've got F1, who is a fantastic example of using esports in its widest sense, but they had a whole virtual racing tournament when their racing wasn't on, and it didn't just include the Formula 1 races, it included celebrities, it included other famous sportsmen, and actually that engaged so many people and got so many people then excited for the restart of Formula 1. That is, again, just another way of actually engaging with their fans. And Premier League, we all know the Premier League has restarted. If anyone's seen any of the Premier League from the UK, and a lot of the perimeter boards, whilst obviously they've got the partner messaging, but they also have the Zoom partnership where you've got fans watching along live and celebrating along live. So you've got the players on the pitch that can see the fans celebrating. As Sergio said, probably a few seconds delay, but they are there celebrating the whole time. So from a rugby perspective, we're looking at all of these different types of things that we can look at to really engage with all of those fans.
All right. Sorry, that.
So, I mean, the second challenge for us is related to that. Is ultimately how we can spark that fan engagement through the digital experiences that we're engaging with and that we're developing, but tailored to the individual needs of that fan. Again, Ryan mentioned it. It's the user involvement. It's personalization. Personalization is absolutely crucial. It will be the prime driver for marketing success, according to McKinsey, over the next 5 years. And ultimately, if we can get that personalization right, we'll be able to farm the data from all of the customer touch points from start to finish, end-to-end customer journey. The more interactions they have, the more we can tailor that experience to them. And there are businesses, there are technologies out there that can track them. One of my old companies, CSM Engage, that's exactly what they do. For example, they create personalized fan pathways by growing and utilizing that first-party data. And then from my perspective back at Quint's is that how do I then commercialize that? How do I sell that to our current partners? How do we bring new partners on board? How do we bring that round to monetizing that fan journey?
Excellent. Thank you for this, Dan. We are coming up to the last part of the session, and I think everything was a preparation for that part. So I want to ask you a bit of, I would expect you to share, to dream a little bit and to go out of your boundaries. Since you all deal with innovation, I'm sure it's like a walk in the park for you. I would like to basically combine two questions together. The first question is, let's say you have a check which is open check, where you can create the futuristic platform of engaging, of communicating, of supporting your fans. No limits whatsoever. Resources, time, everything is there. Yeah? What would that be? What are the key characteristics of this platform? What will happen there? And alongside that is, if I would ask you to sit down and write how 5 years from now will look like in terms of fan engagement. I spoke to a guy who owns an esport team, and I told him, yeah, what do you think will happen with traditional sport and esport? Would eventually traditional sport will own the esport teams? And he said, no, vice versa. The esport teams will own traditional sports. I don't know about that, but if everything is possible, how would our experience if I take my little son to see NBA, to see baseball, hockey, rugby, football in 5 years' time, whether home experience, let's focus on home, or even stadium. What will be there which will be outrageous, and for people now hearing us will say, wow, I didn't think about that. Let's start with Diego. Sergio.
Oh, wow, you put me on the spot. First, I was just going to copy what the smarter people in this panel were going to say. Look, I think the ideal platform with an open check has to allow people to engage, like I said, to share their passions. We would need to have player content in there where they can engage with players. Obviously, figure out the right way to do that, so it's not stalking or creepy, but so that they get an idea. I mean, and our players are pretty out there on Instagram and Twitter and TikTok and what have you, but so they can kind of get that. And then brought into the ballpark, we're already doing predictive gaming. Like you can predict what's going to happen every bat. You can play like who's going to get hits, what over and under. Like you can do all these things already on our At the Ballpark app. So bringing that, just expanding upon it, and then obviously when California passes, sports betting, connecting that to actually monetizing it. But you can already win cash prizes on our ballpark app for those predictive gaming. I mean, baseball, has 300 pitches. You could conceivably make a bet on each one. So there's a lot of opportunities there. So those apps, that app has to tie all that in. It has to be mobile delivery service. You can order wherever you are, wherever you're sitting. You can actually get your food delivered to you while it's still warm and your beer's still cold. So I think that's kind of what that needs to look like. And I know there's bits and pieces of all of that already in place, but there's one simple thing where works 100% well every single time. As far as what sports are going to look like 5 years from now, I think the path from when you get in your car or in public transportation, or if we ever have that again after COVID, and you arrive at the ballpark, at the parking lot, or facial recognition, kind of you walk right through with scans, all of that. That all needs to happen within the next couple of years. So definitely, that's what that experience, getting in and out of a ballpark or an arena or a stadium. And again, being able to engage more real time with those sitting around you, with your friends and family at home that may be watching the game along with you. You have to have, you get all the real time stats. I mean, the stats in baseball is such a numbers driven game, but the stats like the launch angle, exit velocity, spin rate on pitchers, all of that for people that are true fans is really, really cool stuff. That we've done that in these preseason games. It's on the video board. That's just not for public. I don't know that our coaches are comfortable sharing that information, but it's out there on the broadcast. You can see it. You have to be able to get that easily at your seat when you're watching it at the ball game. So I know nothing out there is really out there. I don't think we'll be flying our little jetpacks to the ballpark, but I do think, facial recognition, you're never going to have to reach into your wallet. We'll be able to track and know who everybody is. And for us in San Diego, being a border town, we're 8 miles away from Tijuana, which has, 2 million people. So it doubles the size of our market, figuring out. And we were close to that in 2015, and then the political climate changed a little bit. But I think to get us to be able to activate that fan base and make it simple and easy for them to enjoy the ballpark experience as well as watch it will be important for us in 5 years.
Not bad as the first one, Sergio. Let's see, go to Victor now, see if he can raise the bar a little bit and really, kick our head with some crazy prediction about what will happen in 5 years' time.
First of all, you need to send me the check, an open check, and I promise that I will try to find a way to spend it.
You have your opportunity now. Let's see if there is something to do there.
First of all, our vision is in 2026, we will be the venue of the World Cup. We need to try to find a way to win the World Cup. This is our dream as a national team, but as a league, to be one of the 3 top leagues of the world. But to achieve that goal, we are 100% sure that using technology, innovation, and development is the only way that you could try to achieve these goals.
Nice.
That's the reason why 2 years ago we created this Technology and Innovation Center. This amount of this check, we will use it to continue improving and developing the technology and innovation in Mexico. Just to have the reference, in Mexico right now, all the clubs using the same GPS technology. It doesn't matter if you are from Liga MX, if you are for Women's League, if you are from the Promotion and Relegation League, that is the second division. And in some cases, we are using exactly the same GPS in the youth teams, U20, U17, U50. We are using exactly the same cameras, all the leagues. We are using exactly the same database or past data during all the divisions. And it could bring the possibility that have content before, during, and after the match, something that Sergio said, this information that bring value during the match. And we have the bunch of data, but it's different when you need to have the content from one supplier, when you are creating your own content from your own technological innovation center. And this is our competitive advantage.
Got it.
And then,
I'm speaking about, Victor, I want to hear about the future, 5 years from now.
well,
You mentioned AI technologies. What's going to happen? How do you see that?
I think that virtual reality needs to be one of the common things that happen. Right now, it's just some attempt. Talking about intelligence, artificial intelligence, that's a predictive model. The predictive, this player will shoot from that side and shoot to that side. Something that smart ball, we are working one of those projects because the smart ball, it doesn't happen. Imagine when you arrive to the stadium and see in the dressing room of the referees, one smart ball connected to the ball, no, connected to the plug to the electricity. This is are things that right now are not happening in the coming way. This is the future of in some aspect. But one of the main things that, in my personal point of view, this is the key. We need to listen the need and to anticipate of the needs of the market and to the fans, because at the end, the COVID showed to us that we are humans. In some moments, we think that we live in a bubble and we live in a different, and we are privileged to be in industry like football, like basketball, like innovation, like rugby. But we are humans, and this pandemic faced to us the reality that we are humans. I think that in 5 years, we need to be so close, but we need to start right now with the fan, with the needs of the fan. Because probably we could create the most smart match ball, but doesn't matter if the fan don't like it. I think that this is one of the main challenge that we need to have today and continue growing up since today until the next 5 years.
Excellent. Listen to the fans. It's a great thing, and just a short story shows what kind of a way we've done already. 5 years ago, I sat in the Premier League with one of the owners of the teams, and there was no Wi-Fi in the stadium. And I asked him, "How come you don't have Wi-Fi?" And he said, "I don't want to put Wi-Fi in because it distracts the fans from seeing the game." And this is only 5 years. You see where we are now with all the, Wi-Fi 6 and, all the. Anyway, listening to the fans, that's a good one. Yeah.
I will, conscious of time, so I'm going to be fairly succinct. I mentioned it in my previous answer that 5 years' time, we need to have a system that is fully personalized to the fan. So the fan is, we can engage with the fan on the morning of the game. As soon as he wakes up, something that is personal to him, personal to that fan, personal to that fan will be sent to his device or multiple devices or whatever it is. As soon as he walks into the stadium, as Sergio says, he doesn't need to get out his phone. It might be on his watch. It might be facial recognition, whatever that is. But as soon as he walks into that stadium, we're monetizing that fan. We're getting that data. We're monetizing it, and we're creating an experience for that fan that means that he or she is choosing to come to our stadium more than anything else. And I think we're not far away from it. And I think it might not be 5 years, it might be 2 or 3 years, but within 5 years, we need to be able to have, easy access to fantasy leagues, in-seat service, to content and news that is fully personalized to the fan that you're trying to engage with. And that might be the core fan, that might be a periphery fan, that might be someone who goes, I support Harlequins, but I live in Dubai, so I can't watch them every week. But what I want to do is I want to get the main news, I want to get the highlights, I want to know when a try is scored, but I don't want to be bothered during the week. Or it could be, Harlequins, for example, has, we have a lot of high net worth members and season ticket holders. It could be that I'm busy during the week, I want absolutely nothing during the week, but when it comes to a Saturday or a Sunday or a Friday night when Harlequins are playing, that's when I want that news. And it's about personalizing everything along that fan journey to make sure that they are fully engaged and they continue to be fully engaged. And again, coming back to my part of that, is making sure that we're capturing that data and we're using that data in the right way to monetize the partners, for the club, for everybody.
Great. Speaking about the fan journey and I would say automation, I think this is where a lot of innovation is going to come in the next, I would say, couple of years to remake the process of buying, registering, all the interaction around the commercials, the automation that is going to be the personalized with the right CRM. This is all going to move forward dramatically. Great, we have 2 to go, and I see Ryan is sitting quietly, preparing to put a bomb here just to really blow our mind. So the floor is yours.
Yeah, no, I think it's a great question, and I think you hit the nail on the head. I mean, you think about just where we were, 5 years ago, and where we are today. Technology is advancing at exponential rates, and I think that we'll see, even more come to life, especially, going through what we're going through now. I think what you'll start to see, and really I think COVID's making us realize this, is that you're going to see the ever-present arena, the ever-present stadium. And it's going to be more than just the physical location of the arena. We're talking about taking the arena to the masses, right? To people all over the world. And so not only can you interact with our fans personally, with our brand personally, and get the full immersive experience, only when you're at the physical stadium, that won't exist anymore. What will end up happening is we'll find a way to take that experience to fans everywhere. And they don't even have to be in your home, right? I mean, you could be traveling, you could be on the road, and you can have your second screen, and you will be able to interact the same way that you would in the stadium with the game and with the personalities, with the players, with your fellow fans at home or wherever you're going to view the game from or engage with or interact with the game from, right? So I think that what'll end up happening is a lot of the things that have already been mentioned, that Victor, that Dan, and Sergio so far has talked about, will all go into bringing this experience together, right? And so you talk about virtual reality, you talk about the opportunities to do, virtual meet and greets with players after the games. You talk about the personalization of what those meet and greets will be. You talk about the interaction with our players, real time, where they're out and they're on the ice practicing, or the court or the field, and they're practicing. They're going through warm-ups. You could potentially be right alongside them going through those same warm-up drills, right, as a fan. So you're talking about actually getting into the game experience yourself, seeing the game itself. Teams are already starting to experiment with this virtual technology, and it's just going to take it to that next level that not only are you going to be able to watch it, you're actually going to be able to engage with it personally alongside your favorite players, your favorite athletes, and your favorite celebrities. So I see that as what the real future of the industry is going to look like.
Cool. Okay, Kate, no pressure. But, we are expecting you to really complete the session and leave us all moved, touched, and inspired.
Well, no pressure. Unfortunately, all I can do is piggyback on what Dan said, because I completely agree. If I had an unlimited budget, I would create a platform where this platform lives in 5 years. I think, right now it'd be a mobile platform, whether it's on some sort of Google Glass, whether it's in an Oculus goggle set, whatever that is. I would create a platform that merged all of our disparate systems. Most people don't realize that sports teams are dealing with 30 plus different data integrations right now, that unless you work in this space, even people that work for, major Fortune 500 retail companies are always blown away by the amount of data integrations we have. And it's because our systems are so disparate. Our ticketing system, our food and beverage POS systems, our retail POS systems. So I envision a platform that takes all these systems, creates a native experience for the fan, that personalizes that experience intelligently for them. So it utilizes AI to constantly inform itself and to constantly grow that fan profile for us. So when I log onto my mobile platform or my Oculus goggles, I'm seeing a customized, curated set of content that is based on my past preferences that I have informed over my course of usage. And then I see that translating directly into the arena experience as well. So perhaps my content that I've seen focuses specifically on a player. The second I arrive at the arena, I get information. This player is currently located in the fan tunnel, and immediately a pass populates on my phone to access that particular fan tunnel. And one really must inform the other, because if we just focus on the walls, the four walls of our building, you know, we're limited to 19,000 fans there. As our fan and our fan base and brand grows internationally, the in-arena system has to talk to this out-of-arena mobile or VR, AR, watch platform, whatever it is, and they have to continuously inform each other. But if I had a blank checkbook, I would create that system from scratch and focus on one system that creates, you know, a personalized experience for fans, and then, you know, a CDP that layers on top of it that allows us to engage with those fans continuously at their set preferences. I think that's very important. If I look 5 years from now, something I'm really curious to see how COVID impacts this, because before COVID, I was looking at the future of arenas and these live venues, and it was my belief that live venues would now be built not around the stadium, the game itself, but around facilitating human interaction. And again, that human interaction would play, and the availabilities, you know, allowed to specific levels of ticket holders or ticket purchasers would be customized according to their preferences. So the game would be happening in the background, and it would be this cool thing that was happening that you could check in on, but there would be multiple meeting spaces and different hospitality spaces, VR experiences, fan tunnels, et cetera, betting lounges, et cetera, that you could experience throughout your journey, you know, throughout the arena. And the game, you know, the Premier League owner that you were talking to about not enabling Wi-Fi in the arena, to me, I look at the data to see how many times fans are on the phone when they're in the arena, and what can I do? What can I do with that data? Which they're on their phones as much as they're watching the game anyways. So why not create spaces in the arena that allows us to more effectively monetize that? So I'll be really curious to see if COVID, you know, continues this trend of seeing a focus more on human interaction and fan-to-fan engagement as opposed to fan-to-product engagement.
Wow. Okay, just to wrap it up, I want to share a small anecdote. You know, I went to football with my father, a grandfather as well, and I took my sons to football. When the COVID started, there was no sport, and then my son called me, he's now 23, my older son, to watch a FIFA game with him. So I joined him and we watched other people play. And it was okay. Yeah, it was, you know, you need to get used to it a little bit, but it was okay. And then he said to me, you know, Daddy, our generation is different. And then I said, in what way? He said, you know, you went to football with your grandfather, and then you took me to football. But I'm going to take my kids to e-sport games. Whatever that means. I want to thank all the great panel we had today, really inspiring session, much exceeded everything we thought, top of, you know, new ideas, you know, the challenges. I'm sure everybody in the state, in the ecosystem can benefit by listening to this. This will be available also on our website. Thank you all for participating. Great day. See you next time.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank you, everybody. Have an excellent day.